The Battle of Pharsalus took place on the 9th of August in 48 BC, according to Wikipedia. It was fought at Pharsalus, now called Pharsala, between Gaius Julius Caesar and Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus. Previously they were in an alliance with Marcus Licinius Crassus. The alliance was known as the First Triumvirate. Aaron here will tell you more.
Hi, so my notes here. Sorry. Right, well, the First Triumvirate. It was formed between Gaius Julius Caesar, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, and they're three very powerful men. So it was a political alliance formed to give each other status, and each person helped the others gain influence, military power, and wealth. They basically controlled the Roman Empire, so very, very powerful. You don't mess with them. But one day, Crassus was killed whilst fighting against a Parthian rebellion. They killed him by pouring down molten gold down his throat, which is very, very painful. Now, this drove a little tension between Caesar and Pompey, because it's like a void of power. Now, the Senate didn't like Caesar. They preferred Pompey. That's why they put him in charge of their armies and everything. Now, the Senate went to Caesar and they said, "Get rid of your army, relinquish your forces." But Caesar refused. Caesar was angered by the Senate, so he marched towards Rome with his army. Pompey ran away to Greece because he knew he could not defeat Caesar there. So Caesar took Rome. It's very exciting. Now, Pompey knew his army was inferior to Caesar's. He and his army were highly trained veterans, whereas the majority of Pompey's army were unexperienced soldiers that had never fought before. So knowing this, Pompey tried to starve him off by blocking off all the routes in Rome, which was very, very good tactic, Caesar left Rome with his army to confront Pompey. Pompey had tried to delay this, but he couldn't. They met at Pharsalus, and the battle began.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine, and you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Where Caesar had been defeated at Dyrrhachium in 48 BC. Both armies had clashed again in Pharsalus many days later. Caesar had an army of 22,000 men, but Pompey, on the other hand, had 45,000, leaving Caesar outnumbered 2-1. Pompey had the main force of his cavalry on his left wing to overcome Caesar's right wing, which was a mix of infantry and cavalry. However, Caesar had predicted that Pompey would aim for his right wing, and therefore put 2,000 of his finest legionaries behind him. And Caesar was right in predicting so, as in the battle, Pompey's cavalry had forced Caesar's back, which only resulted in them facing men who advanced with pilum. They were effective at puncturing the armor. However, rather than throwing them, Caesar's men used them as stabbing spears. This confused Pompey's men, who started to retreat. The successful legionaries then flanked Pompey's infantry from the left. At the same time, another part of Caesar's infantry, the 3rd Reserve Division, were ordered to advance. Pompey's formation broke, and fearing defeat, Pompey fled to Larissa. Right. With their morale beaten, around 24,000 of Pompey's men surrendered, with the rest either laying dead around them or fleeing to the hills. The smug Caesar, whose casualties numbered only 250, saw this strategical masterpiece, and he exclaimed loudly, "Hoc volunt," which translates to, "They would have it so."
After his humiliating defeat, Pompey fled to Egypt looking for safety. However, the Pharaoh of Egypt, Ptolemy XIII, had him assassinated and his head sent to Caesar to try and appease him and win his favour. But instead of pleasing Caesar, it greatly angered him. This was because of Caesar's mercy towards the previous members of the Senate who he had defeated in the Roman Civil War, who were even allowed to come back to Roman society to assume their previous positions, just obviously was left with power, as that's what caused the war in the first place. And so, the first triumvirate had been left as one man, Caesar, now holding all the power in the Roman Empire, from within Rome. The only forces left of the senatorial faction were simply mopped up in the following years, and the only threats left were in Rome itself.
And that was the Battle of Pharsalus. I think that was a pretty good video. Don't you agree? It was probably worthy of a head's distinction. Well, more worthy than Will Douglas's anyway. I mean, we had real armor and choreographed fight scenes. We filmed it in the dark. Do you know how hard it was to perfect the lighting? It was very difficult. And the editing was a pain thanks to Ahmed's lack of skills at iMovie. It does not help that he kept messing up the filming and laughing during it. We had to make so many cuts. It took 5 hours of editing. FFS.